Hey guys, tonight we are climbing high into the mountains, into the crisp, clean air of the Swiss Alps. We're going to a time before ski lifts and highways, a time when the highest, most remote valleys were connected only by narrow footpaths and the steady, determined tread of a lone mail carrier. We'll feel the weight of a village's hopes and dreams in a leather satchel and hear the crunch of boots on a silent, winding trail. Are you ready in your warm bed? I hope you're feeling wonderfully cozy. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It's always a joy to see where everyone is joining from, so feel free to leave your city or country and the local time in the comments. It makes the world feel a little smaller and a little warmer. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you are aware of is the cold. Not a harsh, biting cold, but a deep, still, profound cold that lives in the very stones of your small room. You are Elias, and you are waking up long before the sun, outside your window. The world is a canvas of deep indigo and silver starlight. The only sound is the distant musical rush of a mountain stream, a sound so constant it is like silence itself. Your home is a small, timbered house in a village tucked deep into a Swiss valley. The air in your room smells of pine wood, of the clean, faint scent of snow from the high peaks, and of the wool of your thick blankets. You slide out of bed, your bare feet meeting the cold, smooth planks of the floor. There is no need for a lamp. You know the geography of this small room by heart. You move with the slow, deliberate purpose of a man whose day is governed not by haste, but by distance and endurance. You wash your face with icy water from a ceramic basin, the shock of it chasing away the last vestiges of sleep. You dress in the dark, thick woolen trousers, a linen shirt, and a heavy, felted wool jacket. Your breakfast is the meal of a man who walks for a living. A thick slice of dark rye bread, a wedge of hard, nutty cheese, and a mug of hot coffee, made milky and sweet. The food is fuel, a foundation for the long day ahead. After your simple meal, you take a candle and walk the few steps from your family's home to the village inn. Attached to the side of the inn is a small lean-to room with its own sturdy door. This is the post room. This is your office. You unlock the door and step inside, the small candle flame pushing back the chilly darkness. The room smells of old paper, of ink, and of the wax used to seal the official letters. The mail for your route, the Boten route, as it is known, arrived late last night by a horse-drawn coach that came up from the valley below. It is part of the early Swiss postal system, a formal service in the lowlands, but up here in the high, remote valleys, the system still relies on the oldest technology of all, a person's 2 feet. A leather sack of mail sits on the floor. You untie it and spill its contents onto the large, worn wooden sorting table. This is the heart of your morning ritual. By the flickering candlelight, you begin to sort the mail, creating small stacks for each stop on your long route. This is not a mechanical task. It is an intimate one. You are the sole human link for the dozen or so souls who live scattered across the high pastures and remote valleys above your village. You know every recipient, and you can read the story of their lives in the mail they receive. You pick up a letter with a fine, elegant script, addressed to the village priest. It carries the seal of the bishop's office in Bern official church business. Another letter, its paper thin and worn, is covered in the cramped, barely legible handwriting of a young man. You recognize it. It is from the Weber's son, Jakob, who is serving as a mercenary soldier in a foreign land. You know his mother cannot read, and that she will take this letter to the priest to have it read to her. You handle it gently. It is a fragile vessel, carrying either joy or heartbreak across the mountains. Historians and sociologists still debate how much literacy had penetrated such remote alpine communities by this time. But you know the reality. Many of the letters you carry are like this one, their meaning locked away until it can be released by a trusted, literate voice. There is a small, lumpy parcel wrapped in brown paper and tied with twine, addressed to the old hermit Klaus, who lives in a tiny chapel high up on the mountain. You know it contains a small loaf of bread and some salt sent by his sister in the village. There is a government notice for a farmer, a rolled-up seed catalog for a cheesemaker's wife, and a thin letter for a young woman, which you suspect is from a suitor in a neighboring valley. You place each piece of mail into its designated pile, your movements a slow, practiced dance. You are not just sorting paper, you are sorting the human heart. Hopes, fears, business, love, sorrow, and joy. It all passes through your hands in this small, cold room. Once the sorting is done, you begin to pack your satchel. It is your most important possession, a large, sturdy bag made of thick, oiled leather that has been darkened and softened by years of use and mountain weather. It has been your father's before you, for he was the boat on this route for 30 years. You pack the mail in a specific order, the first deliveries at the top, the last at the very bottom. You add a small parcel of your own lunch, more bread and cheese, a flask of water, and a small block of your mother's honey and nut cake for energy. Finally, you take up your other essential tool, which leans in the corner by the door. It is your alpenstock, a long, sturdy pole of ash wood, taller than you are, with a sharp iron point at its base. It is your third leg on steep slopes, your probe for testing the depth of a snowdrift, your balance pole for crossing a rushing stream. It is an indispensable companion on your journey. You are ready. You shoulder the heavy leather satchel, you feel its familiar weight settle across your back. It is a physical weight, yes, the weight of paper and parcels. But it is also something more. It is the weight of your responsibility, the weight of the trust that these isolated people place in you. You are their connection, their reassurance that they are not entirely forgotten, that they are still a part of the world that exists beyond the towering, silent peaks. You blow out the candle, plunging the room back into darkness, and step outside. The world has changed. The deep indigo of the night sky is softening to a pale, luminous blue in the east. The great snow-capped peaks that cradle your valley are just beginning to catch the very first, faint, rosy blush of the coming sun. The air is so cold and clean it feels sharp in your lungs. The village is still sound asleep, tucked under its thick blankets of wood smoke and silence. You are the only one awake, the only one moving. You settle the strap of your satchel more comfortably, grip your alpenstock, and set your boots upon the path that leads out of the village and up into the high, quiet world above your journey has begun. The path out of the village begins to climb immediately. There is no gentle introduction to your day's work. The mountain demands its payment of effort from the very first step. You enter the deep, silent pine forest that cloaks the lower slopes of the valley, and the last sleeping houses of the village disappear behind you. The world shrinks to the narrow ribbon of the path ahead, the looming trunks of the ancient firs, and the soft, steady rhythm of your own body at work. The only sounds are the ones you make. The rhythmic crunch, crunch, crunch of your hobnailed boots on the hard-packed earth and loose stones, the steady, reassuring thump, thump, thump of the iron tip of your alpenstock striking the ground with each stride, and the sound of your own breathing, a calm, controlled exhalation that you have perfected over years of climbing, a sound that measures your effort against the mountain's steepness. The air in the forest is cool and fragrant, smelling of pine resin, damp moss, and the rich, dark soil. The path is an old one, worn deep into the mountainside by centuries of use. It is a transhumance route, the very path that shepherds have used for generations to drive their livestock up to the high summer pastures. You can feel the history of it beneath your feet, the passage of countless souls, both human and animal, who have made this same slow, steady ascent towards the sun. As you climb, the darkness begins to recede. The sun has not yet crested the great peaks to the east, but its light is filling the sky, filtering down through the thick canopy of trees in long, ethereal, dusty shafts. You watch the light move across the forest floor, illuminating a patch of bright green moss on a fallen log, catching the intricate beauty of a spider's web strung between two ferns. You are moving through a world that is slowly, quietly, waking up around you. After an hour of steady climbing, you begin to notice a change in the forest. The towering firs and pines begin to thin out, their places taken by hardy, twisted larches and wind-stunted junipers. The air grows thinner, cleaner, and you can feel a gentle breeze that couldn't penetrate the dense woods below. The path becomes steeper, more rugged, a series of switchbacks carved directly into the rocky slope, and then you emerge. You step out from behind the last cluster of stunted trees, and the world opens up before you in a breathtaking, heart-stopping panorama. The forest is below you now, a dark green carpet rolling down to the valley floor. Your village is a tiny, perfect collection of toy houses, a thin curl of smoke rising from the baker's chimney, the only sign of life. The valley itself is still filled with a soft, white sea of morning mist, from which the great, snow-covered peaks on the other side rise like majestic islands. The sun has just touched their highest points, and they are ablaze with a brilliant, fiery alpenglow of rose and gold. You pause for a moment, leaning on your alpenstock, and simply breathe. This is your first reward of the day. You have now reached the high meadows, the Alps that give these mountains their name. The landscape here is entirely different. It is a vast, open, rolling expanse of tundra, covered in tough, springy grasses and a carpet of tiny, resilient alpine flowers. The path is less clear here, a faint track in the grass, but you know it by heart. You can see for miles in every direction The only movement is a pair of black and white choughs, mountain birds, soaring on the updrafts high above. This high world feels ancient, elemental. It is a landscape carved by immense forces. You walk past great, smooth-faced boulders, dropped here by ancient glaciers. You can see the long, sloping ridges of moraines, the rocky debris left behind by retreating ice. High above you, nestled in a cirque on the main peak, a glacier still clings, a river of brilliant white ice flowing in impossibly slow motion. Glaciologists and climate historians of the future will debate the exact extent of the Little Ice Age in this specific region. How much further this glacier once reached, but you can see its power written all over the valley. You are walking through a world that was shaped by ice. The quiet up here is of a different quality than the quiet of the forest. It is vast, open, and filled with the sound of the wind. You hear the high, piercing whistle of a marmot, standing sentinel on a rock, warning its family of your approach. You see the powerful, steady flight of a golden eagle as it hunts for prey along the high ridges. This is a wild, untamed world, and you are just a small, solitary figure moving steadily through it. As you round a bend in the path, you see a strange sight. It is an old, gnarled larch tree, one of the last sentinels of the tree line, its branches twisted into fantastic shapes by the constant wind, and carved into its trunk, weathered by decades of sun and snow, is a crude, mask-like face with hollow eyes and a gaping mouth. It is a relic of an older time, a reminder of the wild spirits believed to inhabit these mountains. It makes you think of the tales of the Chagata, the frightening fur-clad, masked figures that are said to run through the villages in the dead of winter, chasing away the ghosts of the cold season. This carving feels like one of their cousins, a wild man of the mountain, a permanent, silent watcher on this high path. It is a reminder that while your work is official, part of a modern postal system, the land you walk through is ancient and holds much older secrets. You touch the brim of your hat in a gesture of respect to the carving and continue on your way. The weight of the leather satchel on your back is a familiar, comforting presence. Down in the village, that weight felt like a responsibility, the burden of the community's connections. But up here, in the clean, thin air, under the vast, open sky, it feels different. It feels lighter. The letters and parcels seem less like burdens and more like justifications, a reason to be here, to be a part of this magnificent, silent, and overwhelmingly beautiful landscape. You have completed the first and steepest leg of your journey. You have climbed out of the world of people and into the world of the high peaks. You stop by a small, crystal-clear stream, fed by the melting snow high above, and refill your water flask. You look ahead, the path continues to wind its way across the high meadows, a thin, lonely thread leading towards the next valley. Your journey is far from over, but the hardest climb is behind you. From your resting spot by the crystal-clear stream, you shoulder your leather satchel once more and continue your journey. The path no longer climbs so steeply. It now winds its way across the vast, high meadows, a gentle, undulating track that follows the contours of the mountain. You walk for what feels like a long time, yet your sense of time up here is different. It is not measured in minutes and hours. but in the slow passage of clouds across the sky, in the changing angle of the sun, in the rhythmic cadence of your own footsteps on the earth. You are utterly alone, a single, small human presence in a landscape of immense, non-human scale. The silence is profound, broken only by the whisper of the wind in the tough alpine grasses and the occasional distant cry of an eagle. You feel a deep sense of peace in this solitude. It is not loneliness. It is a feeling of being a part of something vast, ancient, and deeply tranquil. Your small human concerns, the hopes and sorrows contained in the letters on your back, seem to shrink in the face of the majestic, indifferent peaks that surround you. After another hour of walking, you spot your next destination. It is not down in a valley or nestled in a sheltered spot. It is perched on a high, rocky ledge ahead of you, clinging to the mountainside like a swallow's nest. It is the tiny stone chapel of Saint Gervais, and the small turf-roofed hut attached to it is the home of Klaus, the hermit. For centuries, this small hermitage has stood here, a testament to faith in a high and lonely place. In older, busier times, it served as a way station for pilgrims and travelers crossing the high passes. Theologians and historians of monasticism still debate the primary motivation for these alpine hermits. Was it an act of extreme penance? A desire for pure, contemplative solitude away from the sins of the world? Or was it a practical mission to maintain a sanctuary and offer aid on these dangerous routes? Looking up at the tiny, improbable building, you suspect it is a little of all three. The main path curves below the ledge, but a smaller, steeper track, little more than a goat path, zigzags up towards the chapel. You take this path, your alpenstock. Finding sure purchase on the rocky ground, as you climb, you see the small signs of the hermit's life. A tiny, immaculately tended vegetable patch, protected from the wind by a low stone wall, where a few hardy cabbages and onions grow. A small, neat stack of firewood. A simple wooden cross, weathered by years of wind and snow, overlooking the vast expanse of the valley below. It is a life stripped down to its barest essentials. You reach the small, level piece of ground in front of the hermit's hut. The door is made of thick, sturdy planks of larch wood and is closed against the wind. There is no knocker. Instead, hanging from a leather thong beside the door is a flat, triangular piece of iron, dark with rust. You pick up a small, smooth stone from the ground and strike the iron. You don't strike it hard, just a firm tap. The result is not a loud clang, but a single, surprisingly clear, high-pitched ping, a pure musical note that hangs in the thin mountain air for a long moment before fading into the vast silence. It is a simple, practical doorbell, its sound designed to cut through the wind and reach the ears of an old man who may be deep in prayer or slumber. A few moments pass, and then you hear the sound of a wooden bar being lifted from inside. The door creaks open, and Klaus the hermit stands before you. He is very old, with a long snow-white beard that reaches his chest, and skin that is as wrinkled and weathered as the ancient trees. But his eyes, deep-set beneath bushy white brows, are startlingly clear and calm. He is dressed in a simple, patched brown robe, tied at the waist with a rope. He looks at you, and a slow, gentle smile spreads across his face. "Elias," he says, his voice a quiet, gravelly whisper, like stones rolling in a slow stream. The Lord has given you a fine day for your walk. He has, Brother Klaus, you reply, returning his smile. There is no other greeting. None is needed. You have been making this delivery every week since you took over the route from your father. The familiarity between you is a comfortable, silent thing. You swing the heavy satchel from your shoulder and open it. You retrieve the small, lumpy parcel and the thin letter. From your sister, you say, placing the loaf of bread, the small packet of salt, and the letter into his outstretched hands. He takes them with a grateful nod, his gnarled fingers closing around the bread. God bless her, he says softly, and God bless you for the climb. He disappears inside his small hut for a moment and returns with 2 simple clay cups and a steaming pot. A little tea, he says, to warm you for the path ahead. He pours a pale, fragrant liquid into the cups. It is a tisane, an herbal tea brewed from plants he has gathered himself from the high meadows, chamomile, mint, and some other more mysterious mountain herbs. The 2 of you sit on a simple wooden bench that leans against the warm, sun-soaked stone wall of the chapel. You sip the hot, fragrant tea in a comfortable, companionable silence. There is no need for small talk. The news of the world is in the letter you brought him. The only other company he needs is the wind, the mountains, and his God. You simply sit together, 2 solitary figures, and look out at the staggering view. The entire world seems to spread out at your feet. You watch a cloud drift slowly across the valley, its shadow a moving stain on the distant green pastures. You watch the sun glint off the glacier on the high peak. It is a moment of profound shared peace, a quiet island of rest in the middle of your long journey. The hermit breaks the silence, his voice still a low whisper. Was there a letter from the bishop's office for the priest? He asks. Yes, brother, you reply, a formal seal. He nods slowly, his gaze distant. Even in his profound isolation, he maintains a thread of connection to the great, sprawling institution of the church to which he has dedicated his life. He is a lone outpost, but he is not adrift. When you have finished your tea, you stand up, the warmth of it spreading through your limbs. I must continue on, Brother Klaus, you say. The cheesemaker's wife is waiting for her seed catalog. He stands as well and places a hand on your shoulder for a moment, a rare gesture of physical contact. Go with God, my son, he says. May your path be clear and your footing sure. You thank him for the tea and make your way back down the steep track to the main path. As you descend, you look back and see him standing there, a small robed figure against the vastness of the sky, watching you go. You raise your alpenstock in a silent farewell, and he raises a hand in return. Then you turn and continue your journey, leaving him to his solitude and his prayers. The encounter, as always, leaves you feeling refreshed and centered. The hot tea has warmed your body, and the deep, abiding peace of the old hermit has settled your soul. The weight of the satchel on your back feels a little lighter now, and you set off on the next leg of your journey with a renewed sense of purpose, your boots finding their familiar steady rhythm on the high meadow path. The path descends slightly from the hermit's ledge, rejoining the main track that cuts across the high alpine plateau. The sun is directly overhead now, warm on your back and shoulders. The air is still and clear, and the silence is so complete that you can hear the faint, high-pitched hum of insects in the grass. It is the middle of the day, a time for rest for both traveler and the land itself. You decide to take your midday meal. You find a perfect spot, a hollow on the leeward side of a great sun-warmed slab of granite. It offers shelter from the breeze and a magnificent view down into a new valley, a deep green U-shaped trough carved by a long-vanished glacier. You shrug the heavy leather satchel from your shoulders, the relief from its weight, a pleasant sensation. You lean it carefully against the rock and sit down, stretching your legs out before you. Your lunch is simple, familiar, and deeply satisfying. You unwrap a cloth to reveal the thick slice of dark rye bread and the wedge of hard, nutty cheese your mother packed for you. You eat slowly, savoring each bite. The bread is hearty and slightly sour, the cheese sharp and salty. You drink deeply from your flask of cool, clean mountain water. For dessert, you have the small, dense cake your mother made, packed with chopped nuts and sweetened with honey from your own village's bees. It is a small square of concentrated energy, a taste of home in this vast, wild place. As you eat, you do what you always do at your midday stop. You open your satchel and lay out the remaining mail, resorting it in your mind for the afternoon's route. There is the government notice for the farmer at the base of the next valley and the seed catalog for the cheesemaker's wife. And then there is the other, smaller package, the one that has intrigued you since you first saw it in the candlelight this morning. You pick it up. It's a small, rectangular parcel wrapped in plain brown paper and tied with simple twine. The handwriting is neat, but unfamiliar. Written in a dark brown ink. It is addressed simply to the Gasser Farm, with no specific person named, and there is no return address, no sender's mark, no clue as to where it came from. It is an anonymous gift, or perhaps an anonymous debt being repaid. You hold it in your palm. It is very light. You give it a gentle shake, and you hear a soft, dry, rustling rattle from within. It is a sound you know well, Seeds. You sit there, leaning against the warm granite, and let your mind wander, contemplating the small mystery in your hand. What kind of seeds could they be? The Gasser Farm is the most remote stop on your route, a stubborn, self-sufficient homestead, tucked high up on the opposite slope of the valley before you. The Gassers are a Walser family, descendants of Germanic people who migrated into these high valleys centuries ago, bringing with them a unique dialect and a fierce independence. They are known for their skill in high-altitude farming, for growing crops where others say it is impossible. Agricultural historians continue to debate the full extent of crop diversity in pre-modern alpine farming. Long before the potato arrived from the New World, these mountain farmers relied on incredibly hardy strains of rye, spelt, and barley, and on tough, frost-resistant vegetables. Perhaps these seeds are a piece of that ancient heritage, a rare heirloom grain being passed from one mountain farmer to another, a quiet act of preserving the old ways. Or perhaps they are flower seeds. The thought almost makes you smile. The Gassers are practical, hard-working people. Their farm is a place of function, not frivolity. Why would anyone send them flower seeds? And yet, the idea is a pleasant one. You imagine a small, brilliant patch of blue gentian or fiery orange hawkweed blooming defiantly outside their stern, timbered farmhouse, a splash of pure, useless beauty in a world of practicality. You turn the packet over in your hand again. There is another possibility. Perhaps they are medicinal herbs. You think of the old doctrine of signatures, the belief that a plant's appearance gives a clue to its healing properties. A plant with a heart-shaped leaf for ailments of the heart, or one with a yellow flower for treating jaundice. Perhaps this small packet contains the seeds of a rare mountain herb, a plant with a special signature, sent by a traveling healer or a distant relative who knows of an illness. The anonymous packet could be a vessel of hope, the promise of a cure. The mystery of it is a gentle puzzle, a pleasant thing to occupy your mind on the long, solitary walk. Unlike the letter from the mercenary son, whose contents could bring joy or sorrow, this packet contains only potential. It is the future in a small paper envelope. It is a garden yet to be planted, a harvest yet to be reaped, a remedy yet to be grown. Your job is not just to deliver news of the past, but to carry the seeds of the future. You finish the last crumbs of your honey cake and take another long drink of water. You carefully place the mysterious seed packet back into your satchel, giving it a place of honor at the top of the small pile. Its delivery now feels like the most important stop of the day, the quiet culmination of your route. You stand up and stretch, your muscles feeling refreshed from the rest. You shoulder your satchel and take up your alpenstock. As you look out across the valley, you notice a change in the sky. While the sun is still bright above you, a cluster of dark, heavy-looking clouds has begun to gather around the highest, most distant peaks. The air, which had been so still, now has a nervous, electric quality to it. A storm is building. It is still hours away, but you know the mountains. You know how quickly the weather can turn. You set off again, your pace a little quicker now, a little more urgent. The peaceful, meditative quality of the morning has been replaced by a quiet sense of purpose, a desire to reach the Gasser farm before the weather breaks. The mystery of the seed packet is now joined by the gentle drama of the approaching storm, and you quicken your steps along the high mountain path. The change, when it comes, happens with the startling speed that is unique to high mountains. The dark clouds you saw building in the distance are no longer a distant threat. They are a gathering army, marching across the sky towards you, swallowing the brilliant blue in their path. The air, once still and warm, becomes agitated, a cool, gusting wind that whips at your jacket and carries the scent of distant rain. The very quality of the light changes, becoming a strange, theatrical yellow-gray. The birds have vanished, the marmots are silent. The whole world seems to be holding its breath. You know you will not reach the Gasser farm before the storm hits. Your mission is no longer about delivering the mail on time. It is about finding shelter and respecting the mountain's sudden, violent temper. You remember an old shepherd's hut, an Alps, tucked into a small rocky fold about half an hour from your current position. It is your only chance of staying dry and safe. You quicken your pace, your easy, rhythmic walk becoming a determined, ground-eating stride. Your alpenstock strikes the ground with a more urgent, sharper rhythm. The sky grows darker with every step. A low, guttural rumble echoes from behind the highest peaks, the first, distant roll of thunder. It is a sound that seems to come from the very bones of the earth. Meteorologists and historians of the future will debate the specific atmospheric conditions that create the unique intensity of alpine thunderstorms, talking of things like orographic lift and dramatic temperature inversions. But to you, hearing that sound, it is easy to believe the old folk tales of a great storm king awakening in his mountain hall, preparing to roll his great stone boulders across the heavens. You scramble up a final, short rise and see it. The hut. It is a low, humble structure built to endure. Its base is made of thick, skillfully fitted dry stones, and its heavy timbered roof is covered in a thick layer of living turf, green and shaggy with hardy mountain grasses. It is a classic example of the vernacular architecture perfected over centuries, designed not for beauty, but for pure, stubborn survival against wind and the crushing weight of winter snow. Just as you reach the simple wooden door, the first drops of rain begin to fall. They are not a gentle mist, but large, cold, heavy drops that splash loudly on the dry stones around you, leaving dark, round spots on the pale granite. The air is suddenly thick with the rich, earthy smell of petrichor, the scent of rain on dry ground. You pull open the heavy, plank door and slip inside, closing it firmly behind you just as the sky opens up. The low rumble of the distant thunder is instantly replaced by a deafening, continuous drumming as a torrential downpour begins to hammer on the turf roof above you. You are safe, you are dry, you are just in time. You take a moment for your eyes to adjust to the dim light inside. The hut is small and smells of old hay, of sheep, of the faint, lingering scent of wood smoke from a fire long since extinguished. It is a simple single room. A rough-hewn wooden sleeping platform stands against one wall, a few wisps of dry hay still scattered upon it. A small, blackened fire pit sits in the center of the earthen floor, directly below a smoke hole in the roof. A simple wooden bench is pushed against the far wall. It is empty, abandoned for the season, a ghost of the summer pasture. But to you, at this moment, it is a palace. You shrug off your heavy, damp satchel and place it carefully on the dry bench, a sigh of relief escaping your lips, and then the storm breaks in its full, terrifying glory. A brilliant blue-white flash of lightning illuminates the interior of the hut for a split second, shining through the cracks in the walls and making the entire world outside look like a stark, photographic negative. It is followed, almost instantly, by a colossal, cracking boom of thunder so loud that it feels like the mountain itself is splitting in two. The sound reverberates through your chest, and you can feel the vibration through the packed earth of the floor. The Storm King is no longer distant. He is right outside your door, shouting his fury. You sit on the bench beside your precious cargo of mail, and you simply wait. There is nothing else to do. You are a prisoner of the storm, a quiet observer of its magnificent, violent performance. Through a small gap between the stones of the wall, you watch the world outside dissolve into a swirling gray chaos. The rain is a solid, driving sheet of water, and the wind howls like a hungry wolf. The thunder continues to crash and roll, echoing endlessly between the surrounding peaks. In the dim light of the hut, you take out the small packet of seeds addressed to the Gasser farm. You hold it in your palm. It feels so small, so fragile, a tiny, hopeful thing to be holding in the midst of such overwhelming power and fury. You think of the seeds nestled inside, each one a tiny, sleeping promise of a future flower or a future meal or a future medicine. Holding it here in this moment of forced stillness, while the world rages outside, feels strangely appropriate. It is a reminder that even in the heart of the storm, the seeds of a quiet, peaceful life are still being carried, still being protected, still on their way to being planted. You unwrap your own simple lunch, which you had no time to eat earlier. You eat your bread and cheese slowly, listening to the symphony of the storm. The drumming of the rain on the turf roof is a surprisingly comforting sound, a constant hypnotic rhythm that speaks of shelter and safety. You are dry, you are warm, you are out of the wind. The storm can rage all it wants, but it cannot touch you. For an hour you sit like this, a quiet island of calm in a sea of beautiful, terrifying chaos. Then, as gradually as it began, the storm starts to relent. The torrential downpour softens to a steady, regular rain. The crashes of thunder become lower, more distant rumbles, as the Storm King moves on to terrorize another valley. The wind, which had been a constant high-pitched shriek, eases into a low, mournful sigh. The worst has passed. You open the heavy door a crack and peer outside. The world is drenched, streams of water running in rivulets down the rocky slopes. The air is cold, but it smells incredibly clean and fresh, washed clear of all dust and pollen. A small, watery ray of sunshine breaks through a gap in the dark clouds, and a magnificent double rainbow forms, its brilliant arc framing the valley below. The journey is not over, but the great obstacle of the day has been weathered. You are safe. Your mail is dry. You shoulder your satchel, take up your alpenstock, and step back out into the clean, wet, post-storm world, ready to complete the final leg of your journey. You step out from the shelter of the old shepherd's hut into a world washed new. The air is so clean and crisp it feels like a drink of cold water. The rain has stopped completely, but every surface glistens and drips, the rocks shining like polished jet, and the tiny alpine flowers bowing their heads with the weight of the water droplets. The great rainbow, your reward for enduring the storm, still hangs in the sky, its colors impossibly vivid against the dark, retreating clouds. The path ahead is now muddy and slick, and small streams of runoff trickle across it, so you must watch your step with renewed care. Your alpenstock becomes your most trusted friend, its iron tip finding purchase where your boots might slip. You make your way down from the high plateau, descending into the valley where the Gasser farm lies hidden. The journey is slower now, more deliberate, but the urgency is gone, replaced by a feeling of calm determination. The hardest part of the day, both the climb and the storm, is behind you. As you descend, the world comes alive with the sound of water. The small, gentle streams of the morning have been transformed by the downpour into rushing, chattering torrents. You can hear the distant, powerful roar of a great waterfall, a temporary giant born from the storm's fury. The sound is not threatening, like the thunder was. It is a vibrant, living sound. The sound of the mountain breathing out after the rain. The sun dips lower, and the light begins to soften, the world taking on the warm, golden hues of late afternoon. And then, as you round a final shoulder of the mountain, you see it, tucked into a gentle slope on the far side of the valley, looking small and sturdy against the immense backdrop of the peaks, is the Gasser Farm. It is a classic Walser farmhouse, a long, low building made of massive, interlocking timbers that have been weathered by centuries of sun and snow to a dark, silvery gray. It is all under one great, gently sloping roof, a practical design you know well. The living quarters for the family, the stables for the cows and goats, and the great hayloft above are all contained within this single, sturdy ark. A thin, pale curl of smoke rises from its stone chimney, a welcome flag of warmth and life in the vast wilderness. It is the most beautiful sight you have seen all day. The final leg of your journey is a gentle descent into the valley and across a small wooden bridge that spans the now swollen river. Then, a last short climb up the path to the farmhouse. As you get closer, you can see the details that speak of a life of hard work and order. A massive, neatly stacked woodpile, ready for the winter. A small, fenced-in garden, its vegetable leaves dark and dripping from the rain. And carved into the great lintel beam above the main door is a Haussegen, a traditional house blessing. You can just make out the old German script, Wo Glaube, da Liebe, wo Liebe, da Friede. Where there is faith, there is love. Where there is love, there is peace. You step onto the wide stone porch and knock on the heavy, solid wood of the door. You hear the sound of footsteps from within, and the door swings open. A woman stands there, wiping her hands on her apron. It is Frau Gasser. She is not old, but her face is lined with the marks of hard work and mountain weather. She breaks into a wide, warm smile when she sees you. Elias, we saw the storm. We were worried for you. Come in, come in. You are soaked through. She ushers you inside, out of the cool evening air and into the overwhelming, wonderful warmth of the farmhouse kitchen. The stube. The room is the heart of the home. It is paneled in warm, honey-colored pine, with a huge tiled stove radiating a deep, comforting heat. A pot of soup bubbles on the stove, filling the air with the smell of herbs and simmering vegetables. It is the very definition of shelter. I am well, Frau Gasser, you say, shrugging the heavy, damp satchel from your shoulders. I found shelter in the old shepherd's hut on the high pass. You open your satchel and deliver the last of your mail. You hand her the official-looking government notice, which she takes with a sigh, and then you hand her the small, mysterious paper-wrapped parcel. And this, you say, it came for the farm. She takes the small packet, a look of curiosity on her face. She turns it over in her hands, just as you did, and then she carefully unties the twine and unfolds the paper. Inside are two small folded paper twists. She opens the first, and a handful of tiny, dark, crescent-shaped seeds falls into her palm. She opens the second, and a few larger, paler seeds join them. Ah, she says, and her face lights up with a look of pure, simple joy. From my sister. The great mystery is solved. They are seeds, you ask? Yes, she says, her eyes shining, marigolds and mountain savory. My sister, she lives in a valley 2 days' walk from here. She has the most wonderful garden. She swears that if you plant a row of marigolds and a row of savory between the cabbages, It keeps the white moths away and the aphids off the leaves, and she says, "The savory makes the cabbage grow sweeter." You look at the simple seeds in her hand. Ethnobotanists of the future will debate whether certain companion planting techniques were scientifically understood by pre-modern farmers, or if they were part of a more holistic, spiritual view of agriculture. But looking at the joy on Frau Gasser's face, you know that to her, it is simply a form of wisdom, a secret passed between two sisters to help their gardens grow. The anonymous package was not a mystery to be solved, but a simple, quiet act of love and care sent across the mountains in your satchel. "You must stay for supper, Elias," Frau Gasser insists. "It is the least we can do." You cannot travel further tonight. You are too tired and too hungry to refuse. You sit at the long wooden table while Herr Gasser comes in from the barn, and their two children watch you with shy, curious eyes. You share a simple, hot, and delicious meal of thick vegetable soup, fresh baked bread, and creamy goat cheese from their own herd. The warmth of the food, the heat from the stove, and the simple, kind hospitality of the family slowly unkinks the weariness from your bones. Your long day is over. Your duty is done. As true darkness falls, you thank the Gasser family profusely and bid them good night. You will not walk all the way back to your own village tonight, but to a small hamlet just an hour's walk down the valley, where you will sleep before making the return journey tomorrow. You step out of the warm, lamp-lit farmhouse and into the cool, clear mountain night. The storm has scoured the sky clean, a billion brilliant. Diamond-hard stars are scattered across the blackness, so close and clear you feel as if you could reach up and touch them. The moon is rising, bathing the high, snow-covered peaks in a soft, ethereal silver light. The air is perfectly still, and the only sound is the gentle murmur of the river in the valley below. You shoulder your now wonderfully light satchel and begin the last, easy walk of the day. The path is downhill, and your steps feel effortless. A feeling of deep quiet and profound satisfaction settles over you. You have walked from dawn until dusk. You have climbed the high meadows. You have weathered the storm, and you have delivered every last piece of mail. You have carried the hopes, the sorrows, the business, and the simple, loving wisdom of a village on your back, and you have brought it all safely to its destination. The image of the warm, lamp-lit farmhouse kitchen begins to grow soft and distant in your mind now, replaced by the feeling of the cool, clean night air and the sight of the silent, watching stars. Let the feeling of a long journey completed, of a duty fulfilled, settle upon you like a warm, heavy blanket. There are no more hills to climb tonight, no more storms to endure. There is only the gentle, downhill path, the soft, silvery light of the moon, and the promise of a deep and well-earned rest. Allow the steady, easy rhythm of your final steps to become the steady, easy rhythm of your own breathing as you leave the high alpine valley behind and drift peacefully, so peacefully, into the quiet country of sleep.